what's guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we have our first update on the next gen NASCAR build. This is a 2023-2024 NASCAR Toyota Camry. So let's go ahead and show you what we did to it, and we're pretty much ready for some primer and paint at this stage. So we got the body pretty much all set and ready to go, and this is looking pretty good. Of course, there are some mold lines here and there on the body, not too big a deal because that's with every typical kit, but the body turned out pretty good. Now, if you saw my last video on how to spice up a next-gen NASCAR build, check out that video because I showed you all of the 3D printed parts that are basically visible, and it can definitely spice up your build. Now, when I'm doing these next-gen cars, I'm not going to be doing a full-on detailed version because there's really no point unless you really cut the body down in half, and which is what Clay Clamp is actually doing right now, which is pretty cool. But if you want to do a super detailed NASCAR build, next gen NASCAR build, you can't really do that unless you, like I said, you cut the body in half and show the interior, because 90% of the chassis is hidden away because it's just, you know, it's not visible. But the parts that I'm adding that is 3D printed is visible parts that you can see and stuff. So check out that video if you are interested. So a few things that we had to do to the body, and the body is the main thing where you can definitely see a lot of things. Is first off, we did drill out the gas filler cap, and that is a 3D printed part, and that is going to be right here. Kind of hard to see, but that's going to be more detailed than the one that comes molded into the body. And also that's going to be the same thing for the exhaust right there. So obviously we got the exhaust, and this is just going to look more detailed and much more better than the one that comes molded into the body. As you see, looks really good and has a depth look to it, and it looks like it's actually open than the one that comes into the body. And one more thing I did to the body is we did cut out the radiator grill area, and on the Camaros that is molded open, but on the Fords and the Camrys that is shut because Jim thought, you know, that's kind of a pain. People don't want that open. They rather use a decal. But certain people like the decals, but I don't. I just think the decals look kind of weird for the grill area. So I did cut that out. And just in case you were wondering how you do the measuring on that, is you basically use the piece that comes in the kit already. This is meant for the Camaro because, like I said, the Camaro is already open, and Jim designed this so you can put it into the Camaro and use the grill decal. But this is what I use, and this is what you use to basically measure the whole depth of the grill opening. Make sure you do your measuring on each side. Make sure you do get it in the middle. But yeah, that's what I use to rough line the outside of the grill. See how big it has to be, and yeah, turned out pretty good. So that turned out really good. I've just used a panel line scriber. This plastic cuts very fast, so make sure you do take your time, especially if you use one of these scribers from Tamiya. These just buzz right through it, so just take your time because this plastic, it does cut very easily. It does scribe it very easily. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the body. Turned out pretty good. The one I'm doing is Christopher Bell, so basically all you have to do is paint the body just black. It is already black, but I rather paint it black and more like a darker black, and then the rest takes care, the decals take care of the rest because it's gonna be yellow in the front, and then yeah, so that's pretty basic. And one other thing I did do to the body is, before we get to the chassis, is I did sand off all of the the hood pins that comes molded onto the trunk and the hood. Is because, you know, it's not really that detailed, and I don't want to use decals because I already have these bad boys. Yeah, look at those look so nice. So yeah, these are the hood pins we're using. And of course it's folded edge ones, you know, but they just look better than the ones that comes molded onto the body. So chassis, here is your main frame, and this just falls way together. This is just really big piece of slab right here you can glue together. Now this is gonna be all white. Some of the instructions do call it to be like a super light gray, but the pictures I've seen, this is pretty much just pure white. Yes, even the gray part, this is supposed to be white as well, but I think Jim just kind of ran out of white sprue to put this on. So but that's not too big a deal, so that's white as well. So basically just glue this together, and basically the glue that I use that's very strong and it has a big brush on it is the press struck bonding. This stuff is really good. It really welds the parts together, and it's very strong. Now there are a couple things that are you do want to do to this chassis before you start assembling it. Is you do have to do some trimming on some 2 parts at least. One part is going to be the firewall, So you got this part right here where it connects to your front I-beam, you want to call it. This part right here where my pointer is, you do want to cut that just a little bit on the inside, on each side, because it has to fit inside this gray area. And it just can't do that without trimming it. So just get your X-Acto blade and just trim it just a little piece off. It's okay if you take a little bit too much off, because again, you're never going to see that ever again once it's in the body and on the chassis. But just slice off a little piece of that, trim off, and you're good to go. And that is going to be the same thing for the rear transmission hides. So that is going to be for your side panels, and that is going to be for your bottom piece. So your bottom piece has these tiny little arrows, you want to call it. So these guys are right here. Make sure you do slice those on each side just a little bit with your X-Acto blade, and you're good to go. And it's going to hit in those triangle areas on these side panels much easier. If you don't do that, then you're going to have one heck of a time getting that to fit, and it's not going to be square. And again, don't worry about cutting off too much. Like I did cut a little bit too much off on this side, but not too big a deal, because you're never going to see it once it's on to the flat chassis. So don't worry about that, but make sure you just do this 4 little slices and you're good to go. And after it's just going to fall together for you. It's going to be more square. So that's that. I did have all my 3D printed parts. If you want to see my, like I said, if you want to see my 3D printed parts, check out my last video. I'm not gonna get into this video. One other thing that I did glue together is gonna be your radiator mount area. This is basically, and this is 2 pieces, or actually a couple pieces. But yeah, this goes together. But these pieces I glued together, and you can either paint it in like a gunmetal, or it's supposed to be carbon fiber. So we're gonna do it in carbon fiber, and yeah, so that's pretty good. So that's pretty much all we glued together right now. Well, except your engine halves, you glue your engine halves together, and obviously your transmission halves. So, and that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all you can glue together before your paint, and you're good to go. Now, one other thing that I want to show you, if you are doing these next gen builds, and you want to make it a little more easier, because these cars, they have independent suspension, and it's kind of hard to get all 4 wheels on the ground or get the correct ride height, because you can definitely get different ride heights on these cars if you don't move your suspension arms up and down correctly. And to help that is going to be assembly jig. Now Jim over at Assembly Jig Air Models, he does design these and he does make them. This is the one that I got, and this is what I designed right here. And basically on how you do it is you get 2 pennies, and that's the correct ride height. But what this is going to be a lot easier than the 2 pennies, because what this does, it takes your chassis and it literally just locks it into place. So that just locks into place, and then obviously you get your chassis / interior bay, and you lock that into place, and then your suspension arms goes onto your side panels here, and especially for your lower arms, your lower arm will rest on top of these parts right here for your front and rear, and that's your correct ride height. And obviously you put your suspension in, and your top arms will line up as well. So that's just that. So that just gives you an idea on how to help out with your correct ride height, because I know people do hate that, and the pennies are kind of a pain. But yeah, just go on eBay. I'm sure there's tons of people on eBay that designed a assembly jig, or just go to jrmodels.com. Jim designs them. I think they're $20 or something like that, and you can use it obviously to get the correct ride height on your builds. Now, one more thing I want to show you before we end this video is, check this out. So if you want to do some carbon fiber on your build, and you just don't want to do templates and stuff, and it's kind of a pain, which for me it was a pain. But check this out. I believe Clay designed this, which is Power Slide. They have a carbon fiber, what do you call it? They call it carbon fiber sheet. So, or stuff they call it at Mike's Decals. So Mike's Decals sells this. So I'll leave a link down below to this sheet in the description box below to Mike's Decals. What this is all carbon fiber pieces. That is carbon fiber on these next gen cars. That is literally the whole chassis, and then little pieces here and there on the interior and on the body and stuff. Your grill, there's your radiator I showed you. So all this is gonna be this is all the carbon fiber decals that is meant for the next gen cars. And this decal sheet will work on the Camaros, Fords, and the Toyotas. And check this out. So it's literally all cut out templates, which is so nice. And they are all carbon fiber, and they are sliced down the middle. It's just super unique. So this is obviously going to be for your side panel. That is going to be for where your exhaust is. Some cars are painted or wrapped in the same body color, and some are not. Some are just wrapped bare metal, bare carbon fiber. And this is just all the parts that is carbon fiber, and this is part of your chassis, more of your chassis components and stuff. So that's that tree, and then this one is basically gonna be your entire chassis. Yeah, so this one's all your chassis. That is gonna be your entire bottom piece. This is all carbon fiber, and that's what this is. So this is really nice, and it has the yellow on there. So this is super nice. So if you want to use some carbon fiber on your build, definitely get this sheet. I think it's like 12 bucks or something like that. It's pretty cheap. So pretty cool. So we've definitely been using this. But again, I'll leave that sheet down in the description box below to Mike's Decals. I believe Mike's Decals is the only place you can get it. Maybe some people on eBay as well, but I definitely go with Mike's Decals because he's the cheapest and more reliable guy for the for NASCAR decals. But yeah, so that's more everything that I want to show you, and it's pretty cool. But other than that, guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed, and like I said, we'll get this in paint. We'll have a painted video, and maybe we'll have a decaling video as well, because I do have the correct equipment and for me to mount my GoPro and stuff about getting my way for me doing a decal. So maybe we'll have a decal about decaling the body video, who knows. But other than that, guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and until next video, we'll catch you next time.
Jack it up.